Regie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my live streams. This is the Ready, Set, Go preview show, and this is a show that we do every single Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. And typically on this show, we don't have guests on the Sunday show, but tonight we are actually going to be joined by a gentleman who has worked with me over like the last year or so to do a couple of retailer variants for Regie Collects. And we're going to have him on the show in just a few moments. But if you've never seen one of these shows, I definitely want to invite you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because as I mentioned, we do this show every single Sunday night. We have a great time talking about news and current events. And then during the show, I often will give away a slab. Well, not often, but every single show will give away a slab, thanks to my friends at Go Collect. And to that point, I want to make an announcement that last week's winner did not claim their book of the Spawn #1 newsstand 9.4. This is available to the person that came in second place. So if you missed last week's show, I definitely want to encourage you to go back and watch that show, because you might be the second place person that is now eligible to claim that prize. If and indeed you are, you have to send me an email to Reggie@regiecollects.com with your screen name, your government name, and your full mailing address, and I will bundle that Spawn up and send it off to you. The same goes for tonight's winner, because we're going to be giving away this book right here, Carnage Mind Bomb, issue #1, a 9.8 with white pages. Somebody is going to win this book tonight, and they too will have to send me that email. And a little bit later in the show, I have another book down here that I'm going to show you guys that I accidentally showed the other day. But I'm going to show you the book that will be given away this coming week. And so there is one thing that I want to do before we welcome our guests on. There's one thing that I want to highlight here real quick. This came to me from Mikey Sutton. Mikey Sutton is the owner, the editor of Geekosity Mag. He sent me a message earlier today alerting me to something. And for those that don't know, Mikey Sutton is like an insider. He breaks all kinds of news, sometimes days, sometimes months, sometimes a year or more ahead. And it just takes time for all to be revealed. But he sent this to me earlier today. This is actually available on his website, geekositymag.com. And this basically says that Marvel Studios is interested in Zach Snyder for the Ghost Rider reboot. And Zach Snyder right now, super hot because of the success of his cut of the Justice League. There are a lot of people that are excited and interested in working with him moving forward. And it seems that Marvel is definitely interested in helping, in having him help them to reboot the Ghost Rider franchise. And it's going to be very interesting to see if this actually works out. And again, as I mentioned, sometimes Mikey Sutton is days ahead of news coming out, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer for some of this stuff to reveal itself. But as you read this article, it basically says that there is the possibility that even though, Snyder is a little darker than what we get from the bright and shiny MCU, that with things opening up in WandaVision, it might allow for some of that darker stuff to come through, possibly in the form of a, Zack Snyder version of Ghost Rider. And so again, it's going to be very, very interesting to see if this actually develops and materializes into something. So real quick, let me say hello to some comic book soldiers that might be here in the room. Let me run through this real quick. I see my man Doug. How you doing, brother? It is good to see you, my friend. Rush, my Canadian brother. It is good to see you. Alan is in the house climbing comics. Harvey Abel, another Canadian. The Canadians are in full effect tonight. The OG. Tina's in the house. It's good to see you. Another Blue Wrench. Matt Woods, my friend. Steve, how you doing? Como is in the house. Scrolling through the names. Chuck is in here. Scrolling. Doug. My man Doug is in here. If you guys did not check out his blog post that was released on Wednesday, I definitely want to encourage you guys to check that out. Joe, another Joe is in here. Joe, it's always good to see you, my friend. DB is in the house. Philtastic is in here. Welcome to all of you folks. And so again, for those that may have come in a little bit late, there is some news out there, at least on geekositymag.com, that potentially Zach Snyder is going to be coming over to the MCU to possibly do some things around the Ghost Rider franchise. And I actually went back and rewatched Ghost Rider a couple of months ago, and it was not terrible. It was not great, but it was not terrible. So we will again see whether this is going to unfold in the time ahead. So let me scroll down real quick, see what you guys are talking about. I think Snyder could be great if you have someone to keep him on the rails. Sometimes we need people to keep us on the rails. That would be an interesting director for Ghost Rider. Well said. Let me see. Prince, how you doing? It is good to see you. Scrolling through the comments here. Raging, how you doing, my friend? It is good to see you. Scrolling through. Marvel is trying to pull the talent from the other. Marvel is trying to strip just all the talent, right? They just want all the talent, you know? And the thing is, you know, the question is DC going to do what many of us want them to do, which is to give Snyder an opportunity to come back and to develop a universe? You know, are they going to allow that to actually happen? Or are they going to not? And, you know, it's like you can't let good talent go to waste. And so I think that's why there's all this attention for Snyder right now, whether you're talking about Marvel or you're talking about, I think Netflix and a few others have expressed some interest in working with Snyder because, you know, his version was pretty good. So scrolling through, there's a question here. I don't know. I really don't know that. Wasn't Zack Snyder the one who did the 300? I don't know. 300 was dope. I'll tell you that. Milt says, would love to see a Ghost Rider reboot, as would I, my friend. And just like the thousands of Ghost Rider comics hit. just like that, Philtastic says, Ghost Rider has become Red Ocean. Don't blame me. Okay, don't blame me. You blame Mikey Sutton at Geekosity. He is the one that sent that stuff to me and prompted me to actually talk about it here. Jerry in the house, how you doing, brother? It's good to see you. Anachronic says, read that Zack Snyder article earlier. I think he would be great. Scrolling through some of the comments here. I think I am all caught up. All right, so we are gonna go. We're gonna go here to our guest here. I see him in position. I think that he can actually hear me, so I want to give him a little bit of forewarning that we are coming to him. Yes, and there is a smile. So there we go. We are going to go ahead and bring him up on screen after I take off this banner because that will be right on his forehead. Mr. Smith.
Yes. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
All righty.
So what people don't know is that you and I have worked together for like the last year or so. But this is technically only the second time that we have spoken with voices. First time with faces, yes?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so here's the thing, brother. I'm going to be completely honest. I owe you an apology, Mr. Smith. I owe you an apology.
I'm sorry. I'm sitting here adjusting my camera.
That's all right. That's all right. I'll stall for time. You do what you got to do. I owe you an apology because for this entire time that we have been working together, I have literally butchered your name over and over again. You were so polite. You never corrected me. And so I want to publicly apologize as I fan my sweating forehead. I want to publicly apologize to you and have you to tell us the correct pronunciation of your name.
All right. So your pronunciation, all right, was what?
Yukio.
All right. So I had friends, all right, who mentioned who saw your thing, you know, mentioning my name, and they laughed. All right. But my original pronunciation, right, from my family growing up is Uku.
Oh no. Uku. Okay.
Uku.
Okay.
All right. But again, how you pronounced it,
okay,
it's not uncommon.
Okay.
I will say that. All right.
But Uko Smith is the correct pronunciation.
is the correct pronunciation. With my family growing up over the years, it was always Uku.
Uku. Okay.
Yeah, it's an African name.
Oh no, I definitely got that. And when you when you pronounce it, I was like, oh, that now I know the origin, because I wasn't clear if it was a nickname, if it was a real name. Like, again, because I've never had an opportunity to really dig into it, right? So
right.
Uku is the correct pronunciation. And here's the thing: somebody actually tried to correct me on it the other day. And
really?
The correction, I think, was incorrect, because none of us know how to say it. Now we know. Now we know it is official.
Well, again, it's like, again, when you see it in print, you don't know. You pronounce it how you think you pronounce it. You would think you pronounce it, but you're not uncommon. Again, growing up, right? My family, again, I would say, just to make a long story short, it was like different pronunciations of my name throughout the years, right? Again, my family pronounces Uku, but the name was butchered quite a bit over the years.
Yeah.
All right. You pronounce it Yukio. Other pronounce it, again, after a while, I would say that Uko was one of the most common pronunciations that came across, right?
Yeah.
Over the years. And I was like, all right. And after I kept hearing Uko, I was like, hey, my name is Uko, right? Because that was like the most common thing I was hearing.
Yep.
And it was like, and that just kind of stuck, right? And I just tell people Uko, just to eliminate anything, all the any issues with that. But issues came up with like girlfriends when they came across my family.
Yeah,
they see my pronunciation with my family is different.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
I think there's a couple of points here. Matt Woods is like, either way, his art is dope. And somebody else was out, just call him Mr. Smith, right? So we just may stick with either Uko or Mr. Smith. That's what we're going to go with. But
so Uko, I mean, I just tell people after a while, it was like Uko. That's what it is. Other than my family pronounces obviously my original pronunciation,
right?
But yeah, Uko. I just tell everybody else. Yeah.
So I reached out to you originally about a week ago and asked you to come on the show, and you informed me that there was some stuff that happened at the studio that would preclude you from being able to come on. Do you want to talk about what went down the other week at the studio?
Oh yeah. So yeah, here in Columbus, man. For me, it was just a normal evening. And I will say that, normally I'm here till, really late at night.
Mm-hmm.
I'll spend like 12, 14, 15 hours here at the studio, but that particular night, a week ago or so, I think it was a week and a half,
something like that.
I just had a headache, and I had, a headache to the point where I had to go to the dentist. It was a tooth related thing, I was like, all right, and coming back from the dentist, it was like, hey, it was giving me a headache. So anyway, that night it happened. I went home early, and so like 3 or 4 hours later, the building right next to me, which is a paint manufacturer, okay. The paint manufacturer, like 5 after midnight. I think it was Wednesday morning, or Thursday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning. Well, I forget what night, but it was like 12:05. I found out that the building literally right next to me exploded.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I remember waking up about 4 or 5 o'clock, that morning after it happened. And I was reading messages from a friend of mine who lived in the neighborhood, and, from the news feeds, online, that the building right next to me like exploded, and I was like, what the hell, But anyway, and so I drove in that same morning, right? Comes to my studio. You see the barricades, police, news crews are on the spot. So eventually I drove around to the back of the building, and one of the police officers on the spot. I told her, hey, I work here, and she let me go through. So I drove around to the back of the building, and and again, when I walked around to the back after I parked, again, the buildings and the windows in the back of part of the building were blown out.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And so, so that day I'm here, I had class, so I'm sitting here. I think it was like that Thursday morning, and so it happened like Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, and I have class at 8 a.m. on Thursday, 8 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. And I'm thinking, all right, hopefully the internet is working, So anyway, 8 o'clock, class goes on, and I tell my class what's going on. I don't know hopefully I'll be able to stay here. So throughout the day, I was able to stay here. But by about like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, fire department, owners of the art studio here was like, hey, you got to go because possibly more explosions may happen, as they clean up the mess next door.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so, with chemicals, hopefully everybody knows, with chemicals and flames and sparks, you never know.
Yeah, man.
And yeah. And so by about 4:30 that afternoon, they're like, hey, you got to go because of the possibility, Yeah. And throughout the day, I was kind of like, I was just kind of doing my thing, It's just like, I was doing my classes. And fortunately, the classes went on. But after a while, again, at about 4:30, 5 o'clock, they were like, you got to go. So I left.
So you were basically excluded. You couldn't get back into the area for a few days, right?
No, right. And so the police department, was it a EPA, hazmat?
Oh, man.
OSHA.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? All those departments were on hand.
Yeah.
And so I didn't come back here until like this happened like Thursday. Yeah, it was like Thursday morning. And I didn't come back here until like late Monday afternoon, early Tuesday.
Wow. They had to make sure everything was safe, I guess. That's crazy.
Yeah. The owners was like, hey, if you want to come back on Monday, it was like, enter at your own risk.
Wow.
Yeah. So to me, it was okay after like OSHA, you know what I mean? Yeah. 5 days, I think it's okay. So I came back. So
okay. Sign of a true professional. He's like, I have class, I need to get in. So clear the way. But let's talk about this studio, man, because I am definitely curious about that. Do you have the studio in order to create that separation between your personal life and work? Or is there more to why you have the studio and go there every single day and work these 14-hour days?
Yeah, I mean, initially, I've always had studios, right? This is probably my 1, 2, 3, maybe my third or fourth studio, as I recall. All right. And my very first studio was like with my friends graduating college, right? We had a studio there for a couple of years. That worked out, was awesome, having that energy. This is like mid-90s, right? Yeah. And this is the time of this is like Gaijin was going on, right? And we was like, oh shit! It was like, oh, we're gonna do what we're going to do here in Columbus, right? And again, it worked out, and again, things fade over time, right? So people fall out here and there. So me and my other few buddies that lasted, we created another studio, All right. That was going on good for a while. Again, after a while, things start to fade. Then boom, all right, you go your own direction, you work from home. Then eventually, like, I needed another studio just to get away from home.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't love working at home, because I was working at home, but I had my dogs and stuff, and my girl and everything, and it was just like, everything was at home, and it was very distracting, I would say.
Yep.
And so I was like, I needed another spot. So I had my own studio at one point for a couple of years, like 3 years, I think it was. And then things started getting expensive.
Yeah.
And this was like really like pre-cell phone. This is almost like pre-cell phone, like early 2000s, So, but things are getting expensive in that area because you had to register as a business. Things are getting expensive. And so, boom, moved back home, moved there for a couple of years, and they're like, I got to get another studio, And so, which leads me to where I'm at now.
Okay.
And so, issues with the internet, business-wise, there's no issues like it was years ago.
Right. Yep.
I will say. You know what I mean? Just use your phone.
So you made mention of classes. It sounds like there's some other things that are happening. What kind of classes are you teaching? And I'm guessing teaching out of the studio. I want to put a little bit of context around that.
Okay. Yeah. So teaching here right currently, I'm teaching 2 classes. These classes are dealing with drawing for entertainment and design.
Okay.
And these are classes this is a class that I was asked to create. All right, by the college. All right. That's because I was teaching comic book illustration. All right. Prior to the classes I'm teaching now. And so what was happening was that I was teaching comic book illustration classes, and the school asked me to create another class, which is the class that I'm currently teaching, drawing for entertainment and design, which is basically like a lot of concept art, dealing with things in animation, dealing with concept art, character design, environmental designs. And these are the things that I'm into.
Got it.
Right. I was doing this in my comic book class. Right. And so I created the class. I wrote the class. A buddy, another instructor, helped me in a sense co-write the class. But to me, it was a sense like the things that I was doing already in my comic book illustration class. So anyway, the class is going on now for like 5 years, I want to say.
Wow. Okay.
And so it was a bridge to incoming freshmen. Dealing with concept art, dealing with sequential art, dealing with character designs, dealing with product illustrations. This is what this class is about.
And see, I was honestly under the impression that you were just like a comic book artist. I didn't realize that you were also doing, the classes and the teaching as well, because again, we haven't had an opportunity to really dig into like your whole background and stuff like that. So it's just kind of interesting to hear that. And I think you've also done some sequential art stuff as well for IDW, right? I mean, I don't know how much of that you still do now, but you did do some things back in the day for IDW, right?
I did, yeah. I mean, even prior to IDW, I was always doing sequential art, through various indie publishers over the years, But yeah, when IDW hit, I was like, all right, cool, this is great, But it was just always like, you always wonder, like, when is that moment going to happen, right? With any artist in this field, you're always like, when is that moment going to happen? You get your projects little by little. Yeah. And I was at a convention, at a show here, not here in Columbus, but in Dayton, Ohio. And, if you ever remember those convention, comic books with the ads of conventions in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, and like Dayton were always like the hot spots, you know, when it came to like big name artists coming to Ohio for conventions, you know. And but anyway, but yeah, I met a dude who was big into Marvel work and stuff like that, and he had commissioned John Byrne to do a book of an idea that he had, you know. And John Byrne accepted the commission. You know, I think it was like 6 issues. I can't remember exactly. It was FX
at a cost of $20,000 per issue.
Yeah, per issue. You know, and again, that's I am not surprised. I'd accept it too. Right? Someone offered that kind of man.
And I think it was FX. It was FX. For IDW.
Yeah.
And you said it was 6 issues. I never got the count, but I did see the $20,000 that John Byrne got per issue. And I just thought that was a tremendous amount. And then you did the follow-up, right? The FX, I think it was called, I got it in my notes here, Lost Land. I think that's
FX2. FX2, The Lost Land. Yeah.
And then how many issues of that did you do?
Initially, again, it was supposed to be like 6 issues initially, right? But I did like the first issue and a half, I think it was. And that, you know, the guy, the creator I was working with in IDW, they were like, hey, you know, we're going to just make a graphic novel after a while, right? And so, you know, and so the writer, Wayne Osborne, you know, reconfigured the story to make it a graphic novel. So initially, in the end, the graphic novel ended, I think, being about like 4.5, 5 issues worth of stories.
Okay.
But I would say that after that first issue and a half that I got initially started, you know, when the word came down that, you know, that we're going to do this as a graphic novel instead of 6 issues in the stands in bookstores, was I was looking forward to, you know, being in the stands for 6 issues, 6 months. You know, it was like, all right, it's going to be like, you know, just one graphic novel. And I will say that it got a little deflated with that, right? But you know, it took a couple months to get back up the steam with the story, you know. But overall, between the time I started until the final pages that I got completed, it took about like 9 months.
Wow,
I would say.
Wow.
You know, to do like 5.5, about 5 issues or so.
Yeah,
5 issues.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, and it was fun. I mean, I truly enjoyed it. You know, I mean, working with Wayne and working with IDW and all that stuff, you know, I mean, it was great. You know, I'm not going to discount that experience whatsoever, you know. But even with that in mind, you know, but again, it was like another little piece of the puzzle that gets you like more informed on the industry itself and how it works.
Yep.
You know. And but again, I was happy for it. You know, hey, I still got all the pages here.
All the original art back there.
Yeah, back there. Yeah,
I think there's a couple of people that just probably took some notes when you said that. There's a couple of people in here that love original art. So as soon as you said that, I'm sure a couple of people looked at the screen. So
quite possible. Yeah, I mean, I've got every single page. You know what I mean? So even the initial stuff that Wayne and I worked on as like test pages.
Yeah.
You know, prior to like FX, you know,
the prelim stuff. I'm actually going to be giving away a couple of your prelims.
Yeah, and we worked on like another little short story. You know, we worked on, you know, prior to FX, we worked on it, you know, so it was fun. You know,
do you think that you're going to do any more sequential art in the future? Because I just don't know. So I'm kind of throwing that question out there. Is that something that you're actually interested in doing?
Yeah, I always, I mean, I have a creator-owned project that I've been working on the past 3 or 4 years, I would say. You know what I mean? So, my mindset into this field was always, sequential art, but again, as I, got more into it, it was always like, for me, I mean, personally, I would say that as talking to editors and art directors over the years,
Mm-hmm.
I was getting the feel that editors and art directors didn't quite know what I was doing. Okay. And I was never doing the, in a sense, standard kind of art for sequential art.
Okay.
Right. And again, it took a while for me to even recognize that, but this is the information I was getting. And not too many editors was really telling you what those things were. They were only telling you what they needed. Okay. But for me, my thinking was always very artsy. All right. From, again, my mind is thinking of Michelangelo, Frank Frazetta, you know what I mean? Other artists who were very artsy, you know what I mean, with their stuff. I had artists in the comic field that I looked up to, like, Mignola, there was Byrne, there's like Stroman, all these guys, you know what I'm saying, had that art, for sequential art. But my mind was actual, in a sense, are very outside of that, right? But because of the time and what printing was able to do at that time, you saw issues like where guys that like what was it, the one brother that did Arkham Asylum, I think it was he did Batman and the name
I can't help you, brother.
Crap. Shit. I'm sorry. It was an issue of Batman that came out years ago, man, with very painfully. He did a lot of work for Heavy Metal.
But what was the limitation with the printing in his style? What was the limitation there?
It's like they only printed these issues as like special issues.
Okay.
And at the time of like the 90s, it was like you had your printing issue, you had your printing style of the 90s with monthly issues. But it was the name escapes. He's a favorite artist. You know his name. I know you know his name.
I think I see a couple of people trying to help you out here.
He did his work with a Heavy Metal with Fok 2. Fok with Julie Strain and Kevin Eastman.
I can't help you. I can't help you with
I'm
that
sorry,
one.
man.
That's all right. That's all right. But I do have a question for you. I mean, you touched on a few different artists there as you were kind of ripping through that have this artistic style. Are those some of the people that you look to for inspiration? Because I've had people look at some of your art and say that looks and feels like a Mike Mignola kind of piece, right? Are these the artists that you look at for inspiration as you developed your own style? Because you ripped off like 6 or 7 different names of artists there.
Yeah, I mean, every artist has their inspiration, growing up. You know what I mean? I said there's like Larry Stroman, like Byrne, another artist, Sorayama, a Japanese artist, Sorayama. There was like Serpieri, whose work that I loved, and not just their artistic style, but even just like the genre. Of what they were doing. I mean, outside of comics, but there's like certain artists like with Sorayama and Serpieri, it was just like the genre of what they were doing was so out there, outside of comics, was one of the things that I gravitated towards. And, and trying to bring that into comics, it wasn't there at the time that I was coming up. It wasn't there. You
But you
know?
think that the industry has progressed to that point now? Is that your feeling or your thought?
Oh yeah, easily,
Okay.
easily. You know?
And so if you had to describe your style, how would you describe it?
It's like a hybrid, man. It's a hybrid of artists I looked up, you know, like for Zeta, there's Byrne, there's Larry Stroman, um, there's Michelangelo, you know, there's Leonardo, there's a couple of Spanish artists. Years ago, I remember, you know, looking up classical Spanish artists, you know, and it's just a mixture. Even like, you know, Bill Sienkiewicz is one of them,
Yeah.
you know.
I could see that. I could see
Yeah,
that.
it's, you know, other artists, another artist, George Bridgman, you
I
know,
don't know him. No.
and you may not recognize the George Bridgman guy, but it's like it's it all has to do with like energy,
Got it.
you know, and the energy is what I love, you know, and that is me trying to incorporate that energy into what, again, with what I see.
Yep. And I mean, what we're looking at on screen right here is the cover that you just recently did for me for Gung Ho issue number 4, Sexy Beast.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of energy going on with this one. But again, this was just a wonderful piece that you actually put together for me. And it feels like to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of what you're kind of sort of known for are like doing women and things like that. I mean, you do a lot more than that, but a lot of what I'll see posted online is women. Would you say that that's a fair statement to make? And why do you think that you've become known for that, if that is indeed true?
It's fair, and again, I have no qualms about it whatsoever.
Work is work. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I love women. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and again, going back to the days of seeing, you know, Frazetta and Michelangelo, and seeing how they were depicting women and other artists. You know, I mean, you had, you know, some were, you know, like, it was just like, you know, they were powerful, they're sensual, you know, and trying to incorporate that. It wasn't overnight by any means.
Yeah.
And you're seeing, you know, you're picking up things from other artists, you know, that you like, you know, and again, eventually, you know, you do your own thing. And so, but yeah, I mean, drawing women, I have no problem saying, hey, you like drawing women. I don't care. I love it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if that's what I'm known for, that's what I'm known for.
If it works, it works, right?
Yeah. I mean, drawing other stuff, you know, eventually, again, it morphed into, it wasn't just like women overnight, but it was just like, you know, drawing women, drawing, you know, robotic stuff, you know, getting into like perspective.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I love all that stuff. Getting into the guys like Sid Mead, you know, for those artists who know Sid Mead, you know, and Joe Johnston, you know, from the guys who were doing like Star Wars earlier in the day, you know, Back to the Future, Ron Cobb, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you didn't really, in a sense, you didn't really know those names at the time, but you knew the artwork.
Right. Yep.
Right. And it's like, yeah, I want to do that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it's like all that stuff, you know what I mean? And then you get into like the whole fashion. And for me, it was like the whole fashion thing that came into part later on, you know, getting into artists, man, that were into fashion, you know, and getting into fashion illustration and knowing those artists, you know what I mean? And all of this stuff, man, like encompassed into, you know, into a lot of things that that I'm doing today with Create Your Own, a project, you know, and you know, and it's just like all these things, you know, you're involved with, even like, you know, getting into Prince, right?
Right. Yep.
One of my favorite artists, you know, is my favorite artist, I would say. But, you know, you see all the things that he's doing, you know, and all the things and issues that he's encompassing with his music. And that's what I felt with my artwork. It wasn't just like one thing.
Right. Yep.
You know what I mean? It's an encompassing of everything that you've experienced in life.
Poured into that page.
Right.
Yep.
You know.
So let's talk about what's in your hand.
Yeah.
Something that you haven't put down at all during this conversation.
Okay.
There's a I can't tell if it's a pen or a pencil that's in your hand. Are you a pen to paper artist or more of a graphic digital artist, or is it a combination of both?
Yeah, I'm into traditional, man.
Okay, so pen to paper or pencil to paper, I should say.
Pencil to paper is what I'm into, you know.
And it's hilarious.
And
I'm sitting here watching you, and I'm like, he is just having a wonderful conversation with this pencil in his hand. I mean, it's just like, and it's
yeah.
it's natural. And I'm like, does he even know it's in his hand? You know what I'm saying?
I talk with my hands, man.
Yeah,
And
so do I. I try to keep them down though when I'm doing this, but
you know, this past year, obviously, I'm teaching, you know, virtually with classes, right? But in class, I'm always talking with my hands. Again, sometimes I don't recognize it.
Yeah.
I really don't, you know, but I'm a very traditional artist. Again, over the years, you learn you learn the digital aspect of things.
Right. Yep.
You know what I mean? I don't draw digitally whatsoever. I really don't. I mean, I practice it. I will say that I do practice it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But my thing is just drawing traditionally, and if there's anything digitally done, I can add digital colors.
Right.
I mean, doing things in with a graphic touch, you know, with Photoshop or Illustrator, things of that nature. I have no problems in doing that. You know, you practice those things along the way. But I am like traditional. You know, if I need to add colors, digital colors to it, I can do it, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Again, with what the covers that I was, you know, you and I were working on, again, you know, it's all traditional.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, I just add the digital colors later
on top of it. Yeah. Because I mean, the original art that you send me it's just incredible to look at. It really is. I mean, and the colors are great and the digital part is great, but it's nothing like having that piece of paper in your hands and being able to really appreciate the art, you know, in its paper form. I really do appreciate that aspect of it. So
yeah, I mean, to me, it's something you can physically have.
Yes.
You know, and that again, I have the problem with those guys that do all digital whatsoever. Again, digital, hey, it gets the job done.
Right. At the end of the day, that's what really matters, right? I mean,
yeah.
But I think people have their preferences. Like I sit there and I watch Jim Lee draw, and he'll draw something and he'll sketch it and he'll erase the whole page and then just start sketching again and then erase 70% of it and start drawing all over again. It's like, I guess you could do that digitally, but it's not as exciting as watching the paper and watching the hand wave over the paper and this wonderful image just kind of builds out. I think it's cool. I don't have any of that talent, but I appreciate those individuals that do have that talent. And to that point, go ahead, jump in there.
I'm sorry, but I was at a show a couple of years ago in Texas, like 2 years ago. Jim Lee was a guest, was a guest artist at the show, and like Arnold Schwarzenegger was there, right? And you know, Jim Lee, he did his thing, you know, on stage. And you know, and people found it fascinating that Jim Lee, you know, I think he did like a head sketch during his interview.
Yeah.
And you know, and while he was doing the sketch, he like turned the sketch like upside down, right? And he was like drawing upside down, and people were like, oh, this show's fucking amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, I mean, that's fucking great. But it's like, and that's the thing that, you know, you don't really get a sense of when it comes to digital stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, with digital, you could always flip things around and whatnot, but do that. I'm sorry, I don't hate the foul language.
Oh, brother, right? Go for it. No, it's fine.
But do that shit live, right? In front of people, right? It takes on a whole new aspect.
Was he talking at the same time?
You're talking and you're spinning the artwork around. You know what I'm saying? Just to make sure everything is working right. You know what I mean? Things are aligned and everything. That is the performance when it comes to doing especially live art. Yeah, in front of people. You know? And I love doing live art. So going to conventions,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? You're spending your time at a table as people coming over to talking to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're just sitting there. I mean, you're paying attention to people while you're talking to them, but you're just sitting there, just like working away.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
So
saying?
So in the spirit of me not keeping you all night, I do want
I
to
don't care,
ask a
man.
couple of
I don't care.
questions.
Yeah.
I do want to ask a couple of questions. Like what do you have on the horizon, right? And I'm kind of asking that question because I know that a lot of artists have been impacted by the pandemic. A lot of people haven't been able to go to the cons, right? To the point
Right.
that you literally just made a second ago. Do you have any of that kind of stuff on the horizon? What is it like in Ohio? Do you think that you guys are going to have a con where you can actually go out and do some live art and meet some people? Because I know for artists, that is something that they enjoy doing.
Yeah, I mean, conventions again for years. That was one of the things that artists were relying on.
Right.
With obviously, in the financial situation. And I've seen online, artists, again, certain artists, they're really striving during this time of year, during this time of a pandemic, during this past year, and it's like, I mean, it's been great for me. I can say that the creating original artwork for folks online, as opposed to going to shows, it's been really good.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that people have been really supportive,
Yep. Yep.
of artists, of creating artwork for them. You do the artwork and you send it back, you send it to them, through the mail and everything. But again, there's that flip side of other artists I know that who aren't doing so well.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, it's a very touchy, for me. I would say it's a very touchy issue with those artists that I see who aren't doing so well, online with selling their work during this time of the pandemic, but and this is a whole nother issue that I can really go into, man. And it's like, I know you don't really have a lot of time to get into it, but there's been issues I know that I have had personally over the years.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where you artists are always like up and down. You have that period of anybody who's trying to create their own stuff is an up and down period, and you try to, adjust to those issues, and it's one of those things you have to look in, really the whole issue of looking into yourself and diving deep. What is it that you need to do?
Yeah, to put yourself in a better situation to have a different outcome. That's what I'm hearing. Instead of blaming other people, it's like, what can I do for self? That's kind of what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, correct. You know what I mean? You're not blaming, I've seen art, blame other people for their stuff. I'm like, it's you got to really look, for what it is you're doing. How can I put myself out there better to present myself better to people? And
I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm very thankful for Ron over at comicspriceguide.com because he was giving away a sketch of yours of Wolverine, and I saw that sketch and I was like, oh, that's dope. Who did that? And that's where I became aware of you, and that's when I reached out to you to do my first cover variant that we did for Gung Ho issue number 7. That was my first time commissioning somebody to do a variant, and it was a fantastic experience, man. You super professional, hit the deadlines. We didn't really talk, but we spoke via direct messenger and had great, communication. And I'm very appreciative for the 2 projects that we've worked on. It's pleased me to be able to support what you're doing. And I appreciate you being responsive to my suggestions and the deadlines from the publisher that allowed us to execute these things, man. So I'll say thank you for being the professional that you are.
Yeah, same here, man. Thank you. I thank Ron.
Right.
For doing that. I remember talking. I can't remember all the exact conversations with Ron.
Mm-hmm.
About him doing that free giveaway kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And those kind of things I don't mind at all. I really don't. You know, my perspective of again, it's such a competitive field.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, you got to do what you have to do. Again, I don't give everything away for free. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
agreed.
Obviously, as an artist, you
Yep.
can't. You just
Nor,
can't.
nor should you. You'll be hungry.
Right. You know what I'm saying? But every once in a while, with things like at shows, and when I do stuff at shows for people, I'll like, hey, here's a print.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Along with, whatever it is you just purchased. You know what I mean? Or if people want to buy like a bunch of my art books, you know what I mean? I'm like, hey, here's a discount.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On the total price kind of a thing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, you want to make money, obviously, but it's like, I'm not trying to like, rob anybody.
Yeah. It's not about
You know what I'm
making
saying?
money on every
Yeah,
single thing. Sometimes there's a little bit of goodwill that you throw in there so that,
right.
everybody walks away happy. And at the end of the day, that's kind of like the best way to be, at least I think,
Yeah. And I think the last show that I did, man, which is C2E2 a year ago. And it was a dude that came up to me, man, and he's like, we were talking for like a good half hour or so,
Wow.
and he was like, hey, man, I'm gonna purchase all your sketchbooks, and I had like 6 sketchbooks, at that time. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna buy all of them. You know what I mean? And you have the total price. I'm like, hey, man, I'll knock off like $25 for you.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? And he bought all of them.
And he walked away with a good experience. You walked away with a good experience and a little bit of money. It's a win-win for
Yeah.
everybody,
Yeah, it's great, man. It's and I think for me, as as an artist, again, you eventually got to be a business person.
Right.
Those are the things that you got to do.
Yep. So to that point, if people wanted to be able to get in touch with you, where can they find more information on Mr. Smith online? Like what are the usernames, the websites, all that kind of stuff so people can track you down?
Yeah. Well, obviously, on Instagram, you can find me with my name. Again, I'll say Uko Smith on Instagram, right?
That's how I
Along
find
with
you. I always find you right on the Instagram machine and just shoot you a
yeah,
message,
yeah. Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. Obviously, my personal Facebook page, my art page on Facebook. Emailing me, right? There's my email on my website.
Yep.
Even though my website needs seriously updating, I will say that. but you can still find my email address on my website.
And I just threw it up there in the chat. Oh, and I spelled it incorrectly. Can't see. UK. Oh, hold on. Let me get a
UKO Smith.
UKO Smith.
Yeah.
My mic was in the way. So hopefully there we go right there. So there it is. So people definitely on Instagram, that's primarily where I go. It's all one word, no space. Uko Smith, you guys can find him there. Check out his artwork. And again, the variant that he did for me is actually available on regiecollects.com. So you guys can always access that. And just as a reminder, for people that do purchase the blue labels or the yellow labels, I'm actually going to be giving away randomly some of the preliminary sketches that Uko did for me. We're actually going to be giving that stuff away also to one Patreon member as well. So, brother, I absolutely appreciate you taking a little bit of time to chat with me. I enjoyed this conversation. I enjoyed learning a little bit more about you. And fingers crossed that we'll get an opportunity to meet at some point at one of these cons when the world starts to open back up and get back to normal, hopefully in the near term. So
hopefully, yes.
Oh, there's a comment here from my man Milt. Says he bets that you do a good job with Conan. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
I love Conan. I kid you not. It's just like
I appreciate you, man. I'll be in touch with you. Okay.
All right, man.
Thank you,
all right, brother.
Super talented guy. I definitely appreciate him giving up a little bit of time to chat with me. And I ended up running way long on that. I was only supposed to keep him for like 20 some odd minutes. I was enjoying the conversation. Hopefully you guys did as well. Let me give you a quick rundown of some of the videos that are going to be coming out from the channel this week. And then we're going to go ahead and give away this Carnage Mind Bomb here real quick. So I had a bad unboxing. And that video is going to be coming out this week. I'm not going to tell you how bad it was, but it was bad. So there is a video that's going to be coming out about a Hasbro related property that is going to be made into a movie. And then I also bought my very first PGX slab. I purchased my very first PGX slab. So those are 3 pre-recorded videos that are going to be released this week. And in one of those videos, possibly one of those or the Wednesday show, will be a phrase. That phrase will put you in the running for the book that I'll show you guys in just a minute. And then don't forget, we are going to be doing the live show, the Comics Today show, on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So hopefully you guys can join in for that. All right. So let me go ahead and show you guys the random.org. We're going to roll some dice, and then we are going to give away this Carnage Mind Bomb book. So issue number 1 of Carnage Mind Bomb, pretty cool book that somebody is going to be walking away with. So we've rolled 10. We've rolled 10. So let's go ahead and go to the list, and then we are going to randomize this thing and give away this awesome book to 1 lucky subscriber. So huge shout out again to Uko for hanging out with me and just having that conversation. So these are all the individuals that were able to successfully find this week's video in which there was a phrase. And I think the phrase for this week was red foil. I think that was the phrase that was actually embedded into one of the videos. These are all of the folks that were able to find that video, find that phrase, find the community tab, and then plug in all of their information on the MailChimp. So shout out to all these folks that were able to follow that guidance and take care of it. So we're going to randomize this thing a total of 10 times, and we have 306 people enter this week. That is 2. Scrolling here is 3. That is 4. Here's 5. We are halfway there, people. 6, 7, 8, 9. And the winner of this week's Go Collect giveaway of a Carnage Mind Bomb issue number 1, 9.8 is I have Sidian. I think that's how you say that. What's funny is that there is a message in my inbox right now from him on Instagram. Cyan, you know your name. You, sir, are this week's Go Collect giveaway winner. And you can see some of the other names that are right there. My man Joe made it into the top 5. Jeffrey made it into the top 5 there. Chad's up in there. Good stuff. One Wolf Gun, know that guy. So again, shout out to all those folks that were able to enter. Please claim your prize. All you have to do is to send me an email over to Regie@regiecollects.com with your screen name, your government name, which I think are the same thing, your mailing address. I will bundle all this stuff up for you and get it sent out in a timely manner. And so also, just as a reminder, we are also going to be doing 1 podcast this week and also 1 blog post. My man Doug wrote a wonderful blog post. It's a follow-up to the one that we released last week. That blog post will be coming out on Wednesday at 7 a.m. So hopefully you guys will be able to check that out, because I think that it is going to be a very thought-provoking blog post. So let me show you guys again. This is the book that we just gave away to 1 lucky subscriber. Last week's second place winner needs to claim their prize. And then this upcoming week, I'll show you guys the book that is going to be given away to 1 lucky subscriber just for watching videos that come out from the channel. And you also have to be a subscriber, of course. It is Batman Beyond Special Origin issue. This is a 9.4 with white pages. This is this week's Go Collect giveaway book that 1 person is going to walk away with. So all you have to do is to pay attention to the videos that come out from the channel, and that book could be yours. All right, let me scroll back down. What is it? Yeah, I did. I broke down and did it. And you guys will see exactly why I did it and what I bought and why I did it. Because there was a reason for it. There is a reason for it. Kimball, if it only worked that way, if you could only claim it, brother, unfortunately, that is not the way that it works. And you know that. So I love his sense of humor. So let me scroll through. Scrolling through some of the comments here, making sure that we are all caught up on this stuff. Go good, Doug. Thank you, brother. Definitely. Oh, this is one of our recent winners. Dale of Suspense actually won a giveaway this week on the Instagram machine. He won a book, a series of books, 4 of them. Those were mailed out just the other day. So fingers crossed that they will arrive in a moment. It is not a Turok #1. It is not PGX Value Shop. And I may actually crack and reslab. You never know. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what people think about the book that I actually picked up. It made perfect sense at the time, to be honest with you. But it is the first PGX book that I've ever purchased, and only the second that I've actually held. The first was a book that Matt Woods gave me. It was an Amazing Spider-Man 110 that he gave me as a giveaway back to the comic book community. That was the first PGX slab that I ever touched. So anyway, I am going to thank you, Prince. I definitely appreciate that. You know, the cool thing, man, I'm gonna tell you, the cool thing is having an opportunity to engage some of these really talented artists and creators that are out there, right? There are so many of them that are just extremely talented that it's like, if I can use my platform in some kind of way to say, hey, check out this talented person. And we've done a healthy number of that, right? Bringing on different creators that are doing different types of projects, different experience levels, different styles, some of it creator owned, some of it being published like through Image and Skybound and stuff like that. Some of it self-published. To me, it's really cool to be able to talk to some of these folks that are just doing amazing work out there and giving them an opportunity to connect with more people out there, because you heard him say that there are some artists out there that aren't doing so good, you know, and so if we can do something to kind of support these artists that are out there doing some amazing work, then I think we have to do it. And to be honest, for me, I don't have that talent. So this is my opportunity to kind of be part of that. And that's part of the reason why I create these variants, right? It's cool working with him, Uko, to create these covers that I can't draw myself, but I can come up with an idea. I can do the business side of it and say, hey, I got this dope idea. Can we do something? And I pitch my idea to him. He hears it and he goes off and waves his hand over a piece of paper, and something even better than what I thought actually materializes. And then we put it out there for people. You know what I'm saying? To me, that is how I participate in that artistic side of things, because I don't necessarily have that talent, but I can have a good conversation and I can do the business side of stuff. And to me, that's, I guess, where my talent lies. So with that, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me just a little bit. I know that it's late on the East Coast, but I definitely appreciate you all hanging out with me a little bit longer here. As always, if you all need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.